Okay. Welcome everyone to the Finding Neema podcast. This week it is episode number 8, I believe. My name is Neema, aka Neema Naz. If you don't know me, this is the Finding Neema podcast. Like I mentioned 7 times already. It's okay, man. Sometimes you just gotta keep saying stuff over and over again until someone gets it. For this week, I'm not doing a solo podcast. Once again, the very first guest I had before was Farouk. Check him out, episode 6, if you haven't seen it. This week, I thought I'd do something special. It was kind of an impromptu decision on my end to bring in a friend of mine who I got to know very well over the past year or so, just through social media, which is great. And I just asked them, you know what? Because of all the shit that's happening in the world today, and we both have similar views on things, and we just like having discussions, and just maybe it'll be funny, maybe it's serious. It'll be great to bring him on. So I'm gonna bring on the very special guest for this week's episode, my friend Alex Escandorja.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming. Thank you for coming. First of all, if you're watching this on video, this is obviously this is on Zoom because we can't meet up in person. One, he's in Alberta.
Yeah, Edmonton, Alberta.
I'm in Alberta, and I'm in Toronto, Canada. And also because of coronavirus and shit, we have to do it online anyways. And if you're listening on audio, my friend Alex, he is from Alberta, obviously, and he is also a podcaster. And he has his own podcast called The Gifted Gab with his friend Andre. And you're doing a solo one too, right?
Yeah, solo one. That one's called The Daily Flex. Look out for that.
Jeez! Daily Flex. Okay, because your name on Instagram is always a flex, right?
Yeah.
You're always flexing, huh? You think you're nice?
A little flabby. I haven't been to the gym in a while. But...
Open up the gym. My man's been flabby. It's gonna be always a flab from now on. Not always a flex. But for real, we met like what an hour. I mean, sorry, an hour. A year and a half ago or something like that. I think it was.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Yeah, I think it was a year ago.
It was like in the summer, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
You followed me on Instagram for a few months before we actually met, and then you.
Yeah. I just like the comedy. I'm a big fan of comedy, and I just different comedians. I follow so many different comedians, and comedians are the most down to earth people when it comes to like creatives, because they're aware of things that are going on, and there's a lot of Persian comedians, and I don't know, I just found that you stand out a lot, and I liked your stuff, and I didn't even like I just send DMs to guys and like just random shit.
Yeah.
Like we had a conversation from there, and
that's it.
Fuck, didn't look back since.
That's it, man. That's it. Now we're getting married in June, and
slow down. buy me a drink first.
I did actually when I was in Edmonton the last time.
Thank you
very much.
A Shirley Temple, please.
Yeah, this guy murks Shirley Temples. Alex is the king of Shirley Temple.
I love Shirley Temples. But no, social media is so powerful, man.
I know it is. Yeah, like honestly, like if I wasn't making videos on Instagram and you weren't on Instagram, we wouldn't have met, and we wouldn't have had like cool experiences together, like met up, hung out and stuff like that, and also just got along, became friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool. And also, before we get to any further, I like to bring up the fact that what your background is too, because we're very similar in many ways. People look at you and they think you're just, maybe Jamaican or West Indian, but down inside, they don't know. They don't know. Is Irani.
Irani, yes. I'm a Persian boy.
Full Iranian, right?
Yeah. So my mom is black, from Iran. She's of Nigerian descent, so she's a third generation Iranian. Her family hails from Nigeria, so she's of dark skin complexion, not brown skin, like a lot darker than me, She has strong genes. And then my dad is from northern Iran. So
wow, crazy. And how did they meet?
They actually met in Turkey.
Oh, shit, man, halfway.
Yeah, it's halfway. So somewhere just not even in Iran. So
Yeah, wow.
It's a great story. Great story.
Great story. Yeah, wow. Well, that's awesome, man. And when I first actually met you, when I first heard about you, and I found out you were Persian, and you spoke Farsi too, which is the Persian language. If anyone doesn't know, it was honestly a shock to me because even me, like I've never even seen that before. I'm like I don't think I even heard about black people in Iran before.
Most people haven't.
I
Most people
never even
haven't.
knew that, and I thought like I would know that because my parents would tell me, but like they never really told me anything like that. So it was a shock to me, but it was cool to know that like, and it opened my eyes up more to the fact that like, yeah, man, there's different races living in different countries is possible, right? So,
There's a lot of black people in Iran, man. Like I'm not sure the exact number, but 300,000-400,000, I'd say. And all are in Iran from different different types of diaspora. Some came for work generations ago. Some were there from when the Persian Empire had slaves. So yeah, we're everywhere.
I know we everywhere, bro.
We're everywhere, man. So
Well, it's great to know that there's a possibility like that, and and do you think because you grew up in Iran, right?
no, I grew up in Toronto.
But you were born in Iran.
Born in Toronto.
Oh, you were born in Canada.
Born and raised in Canada.
Okay, but you've been back.
I've been back once as a child, and then once like to play basketball and shit.
Yeah, that's cool. And your brother too, right? You have your younger brother.
My younger brother's been there as a child, but he hasn't been back yet.
Right.
For anything other than that, yeah.
That's cool. And what was your experience in Iran? Like,
honestly,
what's the difference between like here and there?
Most people don't know that there's black Iranians, so I got a lot of like, "Oh, are you American?"
Yeah.
Especially because I used to walk around with like a camouflage backpack, and
wow.
And my Farsi wasn't like
top tier.
It wasn't fluent. I can like get by in a conversation,
Yeah,
but for the most part, like people are really open, warm-blooded, and just happy to have you there. Maybe my experience is a little skewed because I am Persian.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, it was love. I actually have a funny story about when I went there. You know how Persian people, they love to tar off. Yeah. So.
Well, first of all, before you continue, we should explain what tarof is.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know what tarof is? So I don't even know how to explain it, but pretty much it's like when, for example, if a Persian family goes to a restaurant and like it's time to pay the bill, there's always a feud between each person who can physically pay and has a credit card. Like they're demanding they pay for something. Like they're like, and then they're like, no, please, like it's on me. It's my duty to serve, like to like pay for this. And then there's fights literally on like, no, I have to pay or else I swear to God, I'm never gonna hang out again.
That's exactly what it is. even when like you're hanging up the phone.
Oh my God!
Nobody wants to be the first to hang up the phone.
No, never.
So
even
I get
gatherings, anything, leaving parties, they say bye for 7 hours straight. Just saying bye.
I don't understand where I don't understand where it comes from. It's a very interesting part of the culture.
And I don't think any other culture does that. Like I don't know.
Not that I know of.
Not that I know of, but maybe I don't know. It's possible, but to that extent, to that extreme, I've never heard that.
It's so bad.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
It is a waste of time. And I'm a guy like
time.
I don't have time for that nonsense. Like I don't have time. So I'm in Iran. I just finished practice.
Yeah.
And I get in a cab. I get in a cab to go back to where I'm staying, and the cab ride's done. First of all, the cabs are cheap. It's like 75 cents to take the cab. Like, so I pull out money to pay this guy, and he's like, "Khabal Nader," like he's not trying to take my money.
Yeah.
And tar off, like he's not trying to take my money. So I'm like, okay. All right, then I just got out of the cab. This
Oh,
This guy's not trying to take my gualas. I'm gonna cut. Yeah, like, you know, I'm like, all right, yo, good looking out still. You know, like, you know, and that happened to me like 3 times. But then, like my teammate explained to me, he's like, bro, that's just the culture, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I did it a few more times, but like, yeah, like I don't like people in Canada don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll hold the door for you, but don't don't waste my time.
that's so
I gotta go.
bro, like literally you're there, like they're like, no, thank you, no, thank you for like hours straight. I'm like, bro, chill. I gotta pick up my daughter. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm gonna be late.
Gotta go. Like,
Gotta go, bro. Let me go. And then they get mad if you leave early.
I didn't look back when I walked out of that cab. I'm like, you know, it is what it is. You know, like, you didn't take my money. Yeah, I tried to give it to you.
I know. Well, how much more can I go play this game with you? Of no, please take my money. Want me to throw it at your face?
You know, and like, I don't know how people do it. I've never seen people in the cab. I see like, oh yeah, when people say, you know, and like, they start doing the back and forth. It's like so internalized in that culture. But
Great,
you know,
weird.
It's when I'm there, I'm like, just, do you not taking it? That's cool. I'm out. Yeah.
And then they get offended when you do that.
I couldn't.
You're the one who
never. Yeah. Like,
what do you want? What do you want? There's no win here.
You know, so it's interesting, man.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy, man. And that's obviously in Iran. Like Persians in anywhere though, they're like that. I met every person I've met in my entire life, my family. They've always just been like that. Always Taro-fan, like, no, please take it all, have everything. Like literally offering their child if they have to. Like I'm like, chill, bro. Like I don't even know who you are. why are you like bowing down to me? It's weird. But I don't know. I think it definitely stems from Persian Empire. I don't know, like maybe because of the king and shit. And
maybe
it's like I don't know, a sign of respect, I guess. But
I don't know,
late.
man.
You're late to everything now. Good job.
That must be why. Imagine me, man. I'm black and Persian. I'm late. I try.
That's still both worlds of being late.
Try so hard. I'm late times 2. You know, like.
Even if you're early, you're still late.
Or people invite me places and they know the Alex is gonna be like an hour, and like it is what it is, man. What can I do? You know?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be there. They're gonna be there in 10 minutes. This guy shows up 2 hours after. Yeah, what do you mean? I said 10 minutes. What do you mean?
Yo, where are you? Yeah, I just left. Just got out of the shower.
Yeah. I'm just around the corner. This guy's just woke up from a nap. Straight lies, man. You don't understand? Because I've dealt through the same thing, man. Like, because it's just in my blood. Like, I'm always one to just like be late because it's just how I was conditioned. And every time,
conditioned, yeah,
bro. Like so many times, like people are like, "Yo, where the fuck are you?" And they're yelling. I'm like, "Bro, yo, I'm like, I've been waiting in the traffic. Like, yo, like I've been turning for like 17 minutes. No one's going anywhere. I'm still in bed, just like touching my like boxers on. You know what I mean? Like,
sorry, it's who I am as a person. I'm sorry.
Accept me for who I am. God damn it.
Exactly.
That's it. So, anyways, do you want to? Yeah, before we get into any deeper topics here, do you want to explain pretty much to everyone listening and watching what you do and what you're trying to do in your life and all that stuff?
You know, I've been I work with my family. We have a family business, Kashan Persian Rugs. So if you need a rug, you know where to look. You know where to holla at us. We got you. And basically, I've just I do the podcast. I like to just create dope shit. You know, I started with the podcast. I do some freelance modeling on the side here and there.
You're a man.
You know, just to make ends meet. But other than that, that's it, man. You know, family business. You know, podcasting, speaking. Yeah, I like to use what I'm blessed with.
Yeah.
You know, I think when living in Canada, you know, freedom of speech is our right. You know what I mean? So I feel like, when you have the chance to create a platform for yourself and speak on issues, you got to take it and run with it. And yeah, and that's all that I do. I was working as a social worker, but I got laid off because of Corona. But
Yeah, of course.
but everything happens for a reason. So But
Sure. That's good, man.
yeah, the Gifted Gab, the Daily Flex. Check us out.
Daily flab. That's it.
The Daily Flab. If this shit keeps going like this, man.
Okay, cool, awesome, man. Yeah. And so I mean, speaking of speaking out on platforms and stuff like that, I guess we can. I want to talk about, and we actually talked to you about this before we yesterday before we started doing the podcast about what's happening right now with Black people in the States, just racism in general. I'm not one. Listen, before I even say anything, I preface this. I'm not. I'm fully behind. I'm fully supportive of Black people and the shit they have to suffer through every day. All the compassion and the love in the world for people who have to suffer through this stuff. Police brutality is unacceptable, and it's like, where does it end, man? Like, where, you know what I mean? How can you change? How can all this change in this world, especially recently because of George Floyd, the murder that he got blatantly fucking murdered, choked out pretty much by that police officer in Minneapolis. And I just think it's unacceptable. But at the same time, as a non-Black person, how does someone help to, I guess not speak out about it, but how do we change? How do we do something to make a change for the better?
Mm-hmm.
So this
You
shit
know what?
stop happening. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
I'm
you
trying to
know
ask
what?
because just to get a perspective from because you're Black, and I'm sure you've dealt with all like racism your whole life or some parts of your life. And I mean, it'll be nice to hear your side of it.
You know what? The the fact that you even ask the question is a step in the right direction. It's acknowledging that you don't have the answers. It's acknowledging that you don't know what to do. Because a lot of people, it's very easy to dismiss it if it's not happening to you, right? Um, it's there's been times I've had arguments with people that think that white privilege isn't a thing. The first thing people can do if they don't know what to start is to educate yourself of what's going on. There's like a historical context. Canada and America are built on the back of racism, on the back of genocide, on the back of the exploitation of human rights and stuff. So educating yourself on how the institutions in Canada and America are set up, how the foundation is, that's the beginning. The second thing would be if you have Black friends, understand their experiences, understand what they might have gone through, ask. I've there's many instances, and this is the thing, people think this is a Black versus white thing. It's not. It's Blacks versus racism, right? Obviously every race sees racism, but right now at this point in time, this is about Black people and racism. Not to say, not to dismiss other people's experiences.
Yeah.
But right now, at this point in time, the Black people are still oppressed.
Yeah.
It's systematic oppression, right? So the first thing, someone that doesn't know, ask. A Black person, they're either gonna explain to you what they've experienced or what is wrong, or they're gonna tell you no. That they're not comfortable talking about that with you, which is fair.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. And
go ahead.
yeah, sorry. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, because I know some people I've seen just like on Twitter and all this stuff too, just reading up on some articles or just other people's tweets, is like some black people are like, it's not our job to educate you guys on this stuff, right?
It's not.
So like, what?
It's not.
And why is that? Like, why? I'm just trying to figure out.
It's not, because it's all in the history books, and as you grow older, you're supposed to get wiser, right? If you right now you're 26 years old, right? 25, right? If you still thought like you were 20 years old, then you haven't accomplished anything in 5 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to grow more aware to what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Right. And you might not experience it firsthand, but if your friend experiences it, then you see it secondhand. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's not the job of the oppressed to educate the oppressors, because it's been in people's faces for so long.
Yeah, that's true.
The fact that like, this stuff with George Floyd that happened, social media is reusing hashtags from when, like years ago.
Really?
Why is it still? Yeah, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why is it still
Why is that
reoccurring?
That's still happening? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's because, the system, the system, a lot of people say it's not the system. A lot of people say white privilege is not a thing. It is a thing. The fact that, my mom is black, right? That makes me black, regardless of if I'm mixed with whatever, I'm black,
Yeah.
The fact that my mom at a certain point in my life had to sit me down and say, you know what, you have to carry yourself a certain type of way because of the color of your skin. That's not a conversation a white person has to have with their child.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? That's not a conversation that, an Asian person has to really like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Only like black people face that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the biggest thing that people can do to help regarding the fight against racism is to speak out on it when you see it. So if you're sitting at the table with your family and your brother or your mother or someone says something out of pocket that is considered racist,
yeah,
it's up to you to speak out on that. If you're with a bunch of your friends and there's a lot of videos on the internet of white kids drinking. There's a video of some girl from Alberta that plays on the Alberta soccer team, of her saying the N-word on camera. Like, and you're in a group of people. When that stuff happens, if you're allowing that to happen, you're condoning racism. You're part of the problem.
Part of the problem, yeah.
You're part of the problem. I always grew up, my dad always raised me to speak on things that to stand up for things I didn't believe in. If I see someone being bullied, if I see someone being treated unfairly, he told me, listen, if you see that, speak up on it. Help them out. You know what I'm saying? So that, combined with my mom's, direction of how to carry myself as a black man, means that I have a duty to speak out against racism.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody should feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Wow, okay. Yeah, I agree with that. And like, has there been any circumstance where like you've like because I'm trying to understand how it is just from your perspective, is like when I walk around anywhere, I don't feel like I'm a threat to anybody. But is that do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like judgment from people when you walk places, or like, you know what I mean? Like, not just like directly to your face, but is that like I know a lot of people, like I've seen like people talk about that all the time, but like, yo, why is it that when I walk somewhere or like I'm in a certain establishment, like I always have to like be all smiling and shit to show like, oh, I'm a good guy. Like, why can't you just like be normal and then people not suspect anything, right? So like, have you personally dealt with stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I think the one everybody can relate to immediately is your customer service voice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the easiest one that everybody can relate to, not just black people, right? But we have to have a different type of demeanor when we're interacting with people, because people will view you as a threat. There has been times where I'm walking and people will see me and go to the edge of the sidewalk and try to avoid me. There's been times let me tell you about a time in Calgary. I was walking on Stephen Ave, and there's a white guy walking faster than me, wearing Air Maxes, and I'm walking with my bro, and I'm like, yo, nice shoes, to be nice. And his friend is like, please don't rob us. Like,
what?
little things like that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that, like, I'm literally going out of my way to compliment you on your shoes because I like shoes. And people like that, they thought that was a joke. You know, they thought that was a joke, and that's the problem. Is you think that's funny. And I had to tell my brother's like, relax, bro. We're not, you know. And I had to look at him and be like it's not. You know what I'm saying? This is their mentality, right? These things. There's a word for this stuff. It's called microaggressions.
Yeah, yeah.
When people make little slight comments about stuff, you know. And my pops always tell me, you know, when you listen to people, they'll tell you, listen to what they say, and they'll tell you exactly what they're thinking without saying what they're thinking.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's been plenty of occasions, you know, I was conditioned to I used to take my mom's car out when I was younger, you know, and she didn't want me to, obviously. And, you know, I'd go pick up my friends and go joyriding and all this stuff. And the first thing, you know, what's the first thing you do when you get in a vehicle? Put your seatbelt on.
Yeah, seatbelt, yeah.
The first thing I used to do when I get in a vehicle, put my seatbelt on, take my fitted off.
Why?
Because I know that if a cop is driving behind me and they see the silhouette of a guy wearing a fitted cap in Toronto, chances are that's a black guy, you know. And there's been, you know, more than a handful of times where I've been pulled over just for being black.
It's crazy.
I've had my mom's car like ripped in and out.
What?
Searched for no reason. I've been accused of stealing my mom's vehicle and like spray painting it a different color than was on the registration. Like the stuff that and it's like, I don't understand. Why is this stuff happening to me? And there's only one reason. It's because of the color of my skin. The fact that my mom told me this, the fact that my experience in life will be determined, not my success, but my experience in life will be determined by the color of my skin, is mind-boggling. Is just like, really let that marinate, you know. I have so many stories about like just times where I've experienced racism, and
that's crazy.
And you know, this George Floyd thing kind of made me really see for what it is. Like when I was watching the news and seeing the protests, I think it was a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I broke down and I started crying because this shit has affected me for like the last 27 years of my life.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
And like and it's crazy because this shit's happening to you, and you're in Canada, and
exactly.
And people always say, no, like Canada is good. It's like not like the States. Canada's nice. Everyone's good, but no, man, like it's just as bad, pretty much.
Yeah, it is just as bad.
Just like, I don't know what's the difference here, but it's just as bad, man. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like, yeah, there's not any like blatant murders maybe like that. Like they
when I was 17 years old, I saw with my own eyes the cops shoot somebody that looked like me.
Oh, really?
When I was 17 years old. And even then, it didn't register. It didn't click in my head because I'm not exposed to what's going on in America. My only reference of experience, especially 17, social media wasn't a thing,
right?
Is what I see.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, seeing all this stuff, experiencing all this stuff, to me, to the guys around me that were all black as well, this stuff seemed normal. And then as an adult now, I realize, you know, my mother always tells me the stuff you experience growing up is not normal. You know, the stuff you've seen, all those interactions is not normal. And for anyone, yeah, it's just
crazy, man. And because you're seeing the riots that are happening right now, and like, it's crazy to see, first of all. But if you really look at it, man, it's not even the black people who are starting the looting and shit, man. It's like planned. I feel. I honestly believe that it's the white people who are doing it, like undercover cops. Like they're planting. There's videos of I seen there are bricks that are being planted in front of like banks and like high end stores, so people can throw them. And I'm like, why are these bricks here? This was never here before. So like I feel like they plant that shit so that because they know people are gonna throw it, break something, and then like they'll get caught, they'll arrest them, they'll have an excuse. They're smart for planning this shit out, and it's so fucked up.
It's a system.
It's a system, and the system's backwards. And I don't know, it was hard, honestly, even up until this point, it was hard for me to believe that this was real, but it's like, it's so real every day, and it's like, it really set in. I'm like, wow, like they really don't give a fuck about black people. Like
No, they never did.
The police system,
They never did.
They're made to look after the rich white people of the world, and everyone else can fuck off.
You know, if people want to understand, you know, that black people have been public enemy number one to the United States, not Canada, we're not public enemy number one, but the systems and the foundation of what Canada is built on is a trickle down of the United States. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the stuff we do here is very similar to the US, right? Here is more the genocide of indigenous people.
Yeah.
Right. The segregation of indigenous people. Right. But black people still face the exact same systemic racism, you know,
Yeah.
just in different forms. But, you know, history will show you, you know, how, and the FBI acknowledges this, you know, like the war on drugs, the passive assassinations of black activists like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. This stuff is on record.
Literally.
You know, that this stuff has happened, you know, that the FBI was actively involved in this stuff, you know, and when it comes to Canada and when we see these protests, you know, you look in the crowd of protesters, it's not all black people.
Yeah. Right.
And like, yes, we appreciate people standing up for us, but this isn't a time for people to destroy stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is a time, especially if like black businesses are getting destroyed, like then it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? But if, you know, riot cops are fighting with violence, and that's an insinuation when you bring a riot squad to a protest, you're what's the word I'm looking for? Foreshadowing that there will be violence.
You're instigating it pretty much.
You know what I'm saying? Like if there's police out there with the regular outfits, you know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, you know, not all cops are bad.
Of course, yeah.
You know, like cops don't come and they're like, I'm gonna kill black people. No. But the system that houses these police is corrupt. Because if you and me are cops, right, and you shoot a black man, right, and I'm black, you would think as a black person I should stand up and uphold the law against you and hold you accountable. But that's not how police institutions work. Right? You've seen police officers have each other's back.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a gang. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
It's a gang.
You're looking after one another, yeah.
You're looking after one another. Yeah. So, you know, and that's why, you know, police in Canada, you know, the occurrences of this aren't as frequent, you know, and for the most part, a lot of places do hold the police accountable, but a lot of places they don't.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So when stuff like this happens, the question isn't, are we going to get justice? The question is the law that is supposed to hold us accountable for upholding the law, are you going to hold these people accountable too?
Yeah. Where does it end? Like, where's the fairness? You know what I mean?
Where's the fairness?
Like,
exactly.
And also, like, the other cops who just stand around when this shit happens, that pisses me off even more, because I'm like, bro, like, you're seeing this shit happen. Like, you're not here. Because, like, I shouldn't, even me, like, I can't even imagine being black. I'm like, man, I walk around sometimes, and every time I see a cop, I get fucking worried. I get a little bit paranoid inside. I'm
exactly.
Like, fuck, like, I shouldn't have to feel like I'm scared of cops. I should actually feel safe around them. That's not, we're here to protect and serve, not fucking kill and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, why should I even feel bad? But now, like, it's like, puts that in perspective of like, okay, if I feel this way,
imagine
black people feel. You know what I mean? It's, they actually experience this shit, like the brunt of all that every day. And so that bothers me, seeing like how, like, in the video, like the other cops just standing there fucking watching this guy kill this man. And I'm like, bro, you're even worse. Like, you're part
you're
of
even worse.
Like,
you're part
bro,
of the problem.
Like, that's your, like, that's how you know. I have a feeling like that's how you know I feel like this shit was this was an order. Like, this was planned. Like, because especially if they knew each other from before.
They knew each other, yeah.
They used to work. Yep. So it was like a premeditated kind of thing, so which is even more fucked.
It's always a mess, man. It's a mess. It's always been a mess, you know.
Yeah, and I just like and so now that like all this shit is and you know what the funniest part is every, like I don't know, like I want to get your opinion on this, but how do you what do you think? Do you think all this shit is in a way like planned to like distract people from something bigger or something different? Because man, like ever since this shit happened, uh, ever since the protests and ever since the riots and the protests happened. Sorry, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, it's a little laggy though.
Oh shit! One second, my friggin' mail app.
Oh, you're good now. You're good now.
Good now. All right, we good. My friggin' mail app. Why is my mail app opening? God damn it! I'm not cutting this shit out. I'm going straight on the podcast. So, God damn man, let me just do my podcast mail app. Do you think because man, like, cause ever since they started doing the protests and the looting and shit happened, just like coronavirus, just all of a sudden vanished. There's no one's talking about it. Like all these people are in one space and no one's saying anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think that's kind of weird?
You know what? I'm not educated enough on the coronavirus thing to have an opinion about coronavirus,
Yeah.
but I do think it's very fishy. Like it doesn't really make sense to me, to be honest. Like of the information I've seen, it doesn't make sense to me. But what does make sense to me is that, the economy is already turned to shit, right? So to destroy an economy already is not a very hard thing to do when it's already destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you got to burn the house down to build it back up. You know what I mean? And maybe, like a lot of the other things that have happened, they're passively allowing this to happen too, the same way they passively allowed, people to assassinate Malcolm X, or they passively allowed people to assassinate Martin Luther King. I do still think that Black people are fed up.
For sure.
I know we're fed up.
Yeah.
I'm fed up. As a grown man sitting here in front of the TV and fucking weeping like a little bitch, of course I'm fed up, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think the government is willing to do whatever it can to meet their agenda. That's what we always need to remember. And yeah.
Do you think that this shit can ever change? Like, how can this ever change, man? Because like, I feel like Black people need another Malcolm X now at this moment. So I don't know who or how it's supposed to happen, but it's very possible. Why not? Same way MLK was there, same way at Malcolm X. I feel like this is gonna be the time where a person like that will come out of step up.
I think it starts with education. You know what I mean? Like racism is not, you're not born racist, bro.
Yeah, no one is. You're not.
You're not born racist. Like that shit is instilled in you. So, the systems were designed this way and they haven't been changed. So yes, if there's a time for somebody to step up, it's us. But it's people like you that are taking the time out of their day to understand what's going on. We need people like you that are willing to say, hey, that's not right.
Yeah, of course.
We don't need you to be out looting with us.
No, yeah.
Or fighting or no, we just need you, like when you are in a group and you see somebody say something out of pocket, we need people like you to step up.
Step up, that's it. Simple.
Because if we try to step up, it becomes confrontational and the police get called. And when that happens, guess what? It doesn't happen. It doesn't end up being a good, because it's always he say versus you say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. So
it takes, that's what it takes.
That's good, man. And I want to just bring this other point up real quick. Is like, so for me, because I'm a comedian, obviously, whoever's listening to this, a comedian, actor, and I've built a brand on my in social media for a while now, for a year now, and it's a comedian, it's a comedy page. I post all my comedy videos and all this shit, and that's how Alex followed me too, because he thought I was a funny ass bitch, and and he could relate.
I really followed you because I want to do stand up myself. That's why.
Hey man, whatever it takes. So anyways, yeah, like my over the course of the year, I've been pretty much daily posting shit, and obviously it's all funny videos. And I never post anything that's not funny in any circumstance. But there has been a couple times throughout the course of the year where certain big events happened that affected a large group of people, or an issue with racism, like that's happening now with police brutality against Black people. A few months ago, it was about the Iranian protests and the plane crash that happened in Iran. They shot down their own plane and 300 people died. 300 Iranian people died. And so for me, what I'm trying to understand, and like I already know what my views are on this, and like I'm just trying to like put it out there so people can understand my context from my point of view from what I'm about to say. There's a lot of people obviously online now, especially during this whole week of like everyone's like, if you're not posting about this, if you're not raising awareness, you're anti-Black. I'm not supporting you anymore. Like we see you, stuff like that. And I see that, and I'm like, okay, but, and I understand where people are coming from, but in a way, it's not fair because for me, because I agree with them saying, okay, like big influencers, they should probably make a post about, but not even to raise awareness, because awareness is everywhere. Okay, the issue isn't awareness here. There's awareness. Everyone knows what's going on, right? The issue is how to make a change, actually be proactive and do something about it. So I'm not about. I'm not even against. I'm just for me as a brand, as a comedian brand that has a little bit of a following. I just don't see myself in that category of like, okay, I have to post about the issue that's going on with Black people right now, or even with the Iran crash. I'm like, because every time I've kind of went silent, that everyone says people are going silent, it's not because I don't care. I deeply care, and you see right now. I mean, I'm talking with you. Every day, as a kid, like growing up, I always am an advocate for just human kindness and human rights. I don't like seeing all this shit happening to Black people, to this person, to this person. I'm all about the love and compassion. And so my point is, I just don't see a scenario where I would post about something like that just because I have a following. Because, for example, if someone tells me, hey, the Iran plane crashed, 300 people died, you're Iranian, just because you're Iranian, why aren't you posting? And I got a lot of hateful messages when I didn't post about it when it happened, from angry Iranian people saying, "Oh, how dare you? You're a disgrace to this. You're blah blah blah. I have so much hate for you. I'm gonna block you. Blah blah blah. All this shit." And the reason why I don't post about anything to raise awareness, anything about anything political or anything that's an actual issue going on, is because if I post one thing, where does it end? Because if I post about this, the next thing that happens that's bad in the world, someone's gonna be upset if I don't post about it. So they're gonna be like, "Hey, you post about this. Why don't you post about this?" And then if you don't post about this, "Hey, why don't you post about this?" Blah blah blah. Blah. And there's a chain of events. And then at this point, if I start posting about all these different topics and different issues, my page, it's not that it's off brand. I don't mind. I'm like, once again, I want to reiterate, I'm not against any of that stuff. It's just that this comedy page that I've built up, that I'm building up to, and I'm still new at it, is strictly for comedy. And people literally come out of their days just to come to my page to bring joy to their day, right? And that's totally fine. And that's why I'm doing it. If I start posting every day about this stuff, or every week or every month, I feel like it just becomes not the page loses its meaning of a comedy page. And I don't know, the way I see it is like that. And once again, there's nothing against any of those things. I fully care about it all, but in private or just in my real life, which is the most important part of it all, in my opinion. So that's the part I want to also bring up too, is like, just to get your point of view too, because I'm curious, and I'm not like, I'm not trying to be defensive or anything. I'm just letting you know how it is from my side. And I'd like to hear what your perspective is on that, because like I've talked to many people, different people, and they've agreed with me. And I know there's some people who've messaged me saying, hey, you should use your platform to post about this. but I still tell them the exact same thing I'm telling you, or I'm telling to anybody who's listening right now. And then they understand afterwards. But obviously, there's always, whether you post or not, I've seen it with my own eyes, man. Even celebrities, you post something, people get mad. You don't post something, people get mad. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, where does it end? And at what point do you start losing yourself? True to yourself, right? You start doing stuff that's true to yourself. Well, when does that end, right? So, I'm just curious. I mean, like, I know I fucking rambled on for an hour there, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and I'm curious to know what you think about that.
I think you're not here to please everybody. Do you know what I'm saying? What you do on social media is not a reflection of what you do in real life. Right. Do you know what I mean? So, if you choose not to post about it, that's your choice. That's fine. And if you'll be able to sleep at night if you're actively advocating for it outside of like the social media world. The problem is people think that social media is a reflection of everybody's life that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not, and I totally understand that the point that you're saying, that you design this page for people to come to get a laugh. I get that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. And that's fine. As long as, in your day-to-day life, when this stuff happens, you're not neutral.
Yeah, exactly.
In life. You know what I'm saying? And, a lot of people are tweeting and posting and doing all this stuff. But, what are you doing outside of social media?
Exactly.
What are you doing outside of social media? I know what I'm doing outside of social media. I know what my brother is doing. I know what the people around me are doing outside of social media. We have action plans. We have things that will make an impact outside of the screen that people are endlessly scrolling for validation. We do things in the community. What are you doing in the community? What are you doing in your day-to-day life? It's not all about social media. And, a lot of people have lost themselves on social media, and they think, social media really doesn't really matter. Because if tomorrow all the social media shit got shut down, who would you be happy with who you are outside of this virtual world? And that's what it comes down to. Would you be happy with who you are and what you've accomplished and what you stand for in your day-to-day life if social media tomorrow all shut down?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
That's how it comes. And I can look at myself in the mirror and say, yeah, I am. You can't get caught up in this facade of social media. Is a facade. It's a tool, and it should be used as a tool, not as there's people literally donating to bail funds and to lawyer funds using PayPal. There's influencers doing that, and other influencers are screenshotting that and reposting it on their profile to pretend that they're like, what is the name of this mental illness?
I know. That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Like, why pretend? What is, I never understood why pretend to, like, why? Yeah. Just, you're with it or you're not. You don't have to display that for social media. Exactly. I display it on social media because I know if you come and see me in real life, I'm going to have something to say.
Of course.
That's who I am as a person, and that's what I stand on. You know what I'm saying? And if you choose not to do it on social media, but you do it in real life, that's fine. That's better than you doing it on social media and not doing it in real life.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, people,
and
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, people are paying attention to who's quiet and who's not.
For sure. Of
course we are. We always are. We're always aware of who's not speaking up. But we're also aware of who actually will make a conscious effort, who asks questions. You know what I mean? I always tell this story about my godmother who, was really, like, close to my family. And she adopted a black kid, right? And, white woman doesn't know anything about raising a black kid. But she went out of her way to educate herself. She reads books. She watches, videos, tutorials, she talks to people. She sits down with me and asks me my experiences with racism.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And for anyone to sit down and ask me about what I've experienced in life, not just as a black person, but a black Muslim. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just like I'm at the furthest on the spectrum when it comes to discrimination.
And you're on top of that, if you're even gay, there'll be trifecta.
But that's like the fact that people will sit and ask me about my experiences. I had a lot of white teammates that are racist, but I also had white teammates that would sit down and ask me about my experiences. You know what I mean?
That's what matters.
That's what matters. There's cops that are pieces of shit, that are scumbags, but there's also cops that will sit down with us and ask us how to fix the relations. You know what I'm saying? There's police officers that have great relationships in the community. There's police officers that used to come into my community and really fuck with us. You know what I'm saying? There's both sides. You know what I'm saying? So it's
right.
What side do you choose to be on in your day-to-day life?
And that brings up a good point. It's like, I'd rather be silent online, not me personally, online, than to repost something that I just don't really know the meaning of behind it. Like, I'd rather just I'd rather not aimlessly repost something just to say, oh, look at me, I did it, here's my attention, right? I don't like doing that. And not for one thing, I'm saying for everything. I truly, genuinely believe in posting stuff that means, first of all, a lot to you yourself, that affects you as a person, if it really truly does, and whatever has to do with your page. But I'm not gonna just sit here and just start reposting shit just to repost and because everyone's doing it. That's not the right way to go about it, because in like you said, what are you doing in your real life? What are you doing behind social media? Then I know for a fact, majority of people, or at least non-black people who are reposting about this shit, they're not doing shit off social media, but they feel good about themselves because they're posting about it. Which, in a way, I'm not saying it's all bad to repost about this stuff, because some things need to be said or shown. I totally agree with that. But certain things, I'm like, you didn't really need to repost this. And I'm just saying, where's the substance there? You know what I mean? And that's the problem, is everyone thinks that social media is a reflection of who you are, but deep down inside, none of this is real. It's what you before, when you didn't have social media, what the fuck did people do? They actually action, and they, no one knew your business. But now it's all of a sudden everyone's in your business. Everyone's like, oh, I see you, you're silent. No, but you don't know shit. You don't have context.
There's no context to it. And you know what, bro? Me and you have had conversations about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is not the first time we've talked about this stuff. And the fact that you've had the conversation, it means you acknowledge that it's a thing.
Of course.
Do you know what I'm saying? You acknowledge that that racism and a problem against black people is a thing. That white privilege is a thing. You've had this conversation. That means you acknowledge it. There's a lot of people that I've seen black people that refuse to acknowledge white privilege as a thing.
Really?
Yeah, I've had conversations. I've had arguments with black people that think white privilege isn't a thing. And you know what? Ignoring it or acting it doesn't exist speaks to your privilege.
Yeah.
It speaks to, so you know what, you're actively having the conversation, you're asking the questions. It's a start. You know what I'm saying? The next is educating yourself on what really, there's a lot of documentaries. There's a lot of documentaries on Netflix that you can watch to educate yourself, and people be watching Netflix all the time. So take the time out to watch something about this stuff. There's a lot of films that document the things that have happened, that the things black people had to endure in the past, that they have to endure now. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of organizations that I work with that are trying to change, reform the system and bring awareness to this stuff. And it's all over the place. The beautiful thing about social media, bro, and this is the thing that people don't take in, you can choose your social media experience. You choose who to follow. I choose to follow you. If your content doesn't mean anything to me or doesn't benefit to me, it's easy for me to unfollow you.
Of course.
Do you know what I'm saying? I choose my social media experience. I choose if I want to be educated on this stuff. If there's information there from other programs, other content creators, other organizations, I can choose to follow them and educate myself that way. The problem is a lot of us choose to follow the Kim Kardashians of the world or the whatever, the Kylie Jenners or whatever.
Boot, tits, and ass. Just
You watching girls twerk on, you know what I mean? Like,
dumb.
we choose our experience, bro, at the end of the day, you know, and we choose if we want to educate ourselves or not. So
yeah, and so I mean, I guess we can get close to wrapping it up, but so like I just wanted to ask one more thing about this is like when you follow, just from your own opinion and from your own perspective, when you follow someone, do you expect, like right now specifically, do you expect everyone that has a little bit of a following or influencers to post about this stuff? Because I know we talked about me and stuff like that, but like I just want to know what you think about that. Like, do you see like as a problem if like other influencers don't post about it or they stay silent? Like, what's your thought on that?
my thought on that is that, you know, if you speak on it, it makes it clear that, you know, me and you are on the same team. When you don't speak on it, like me and you, I know you. Do you know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
had conversations with you. Like
Yeah.
you're actually my friend.
Right.
So it doesn't really bother me. And a lot of the people I talk to on social media, I know them. They're very rarely do I follow. I don't really look up to anybody other than Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So the people that I follow, for me, I've probably had an interaction with, and I know where they're at. Even if they don't post about it, I know what they're, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, they look to, you know, people that might have a little bit of a platform. They might not know you in real life, and they want to use this stuff to validate you. And should you speak on it? Yes, you should. You should use your platform to speak on it. But for me personally, I know what you do in your day-to-day. I know who you are as a person. So it doesn't bother me. It'll bother other people. But you also have to understand people, everybody's a critic. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you're asking me, should you speak on it? Yes. Is it a big deal? No. If you embody that stuff in your day-to-day life, no, it's not a big deal. You don't have to speak out on it. You know, if you're worried about your aesthetic or whatever, it's fine as long as you're, when the chips are falling, we're out there protesting and you're beside us, you're with us. That's all that really matters.
Yeah. And I'm not worried about my aesthetic. It's not even about that. It's
no, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying like in general. I'm saying like, you know, when people don't speak on these things, you know, sometimes they may be worried about backlash. Sometimes they be worried about, you know what I mean? It's all that matters is like when it comes down to when the chips are on the table, and it comes down to really fight who's out there, boots to the ground with us.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. And I'm not worried about aesthetic or anything. It's like for me. It's like I just don't want to flood my page with a different issue every day because I'm not dismissing the issue that's going on right now. I'm just saying in general. I've had people approach me all the time throughout the year, this whole year, of bad shit happening to different people, and I'm like, but I can't. If I post about this, the other person who's directly affected by this problem, they're gonna be mad if I don't post about them. And so that's where I come back to that same argument every time. Like, where does it end, right? And then at that point, I become half CNN, half comedy, Neema, right? It's like,
I think,
you know,
I think like it's more about like, you know, if you're willing to, you know, hang out with me and listen to me and understand where I'm coming from or any black person's coming from, you should speak out on it. You know what I'm saying? And Persian people too, but we don't expect people to speak out. Like, I don't care if people speak out on fucking what the vegans or shit like that, or, you know what I'm saying? Or like, even like animal rights and stuff is, yeah, it sucks, but like, you know, I don't have a pet. You know what I'm saying? And that, I'm not to dismiss, I think it's very wrong, but racism is a human rights thing.
Yeah.
Racism is about human rights.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you have to put yourself in our shoes, because if your skin was our color, you'd be experiencing this too.
Yeah.
It's more like that. The other stuff is more about, the other stuff is like is pretty much choosing sides.
Right.
But this is more about, like, this is fundamentally, from a human rights perspective, this is wrong.
Right.
It's been wrong. It's still wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you ask my opinion, yeah, you should speak out on it. Are we gonna be? Am I gonna be mad if you don't speak on it? No, I don't. I don't care, because I know you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And not everybody on your social media has a benefit of knowing you.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I'm saying? So, don't fuck all that shit, bro. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I know that the fact that you asked me and we had conversations about it lets me know whose side you're on.
Of course, and the thing is, like, yeah, you know me, but 40,000 people don't know.
Don't have the benefit of.
Right?
They don't have the
That's
benefit.
where the problem is. I'm like, well, like, where, you know what I mean? So what happens there? Because now I feel like people who don't know me like you, they might think, oh, this guy's staying silent because he's on the side of the oppressor. That's what they probably think. Some of them, at least, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the dilemma lies. I'm like, well, I mean, I get it. So, like, if I were to post about something about this, what would I even post? That's what I want to know.
That you know what? It first starts with education, right? If you're not educated on it, don't post about it. But go out of your way to educate yourself on it. You know what I'm saying? Acknowledge that you have a lot of Black friends that are going through this, and that you stand by them and you believe in what we're fighting for. If you believe in what we're fighting for, post about it, bro.
Right.
I'm not saying that you should. I'm not saying that you have to. And I'm not gonna fucking. I don't give a fuck if you post about it or not.
Yeah.
But if you are gonna post about it and you want to bring awareness to the situation, because this is a fundamental human rights issue. It's not your dog is whatever, and this is not all lives matter. This is Black people have been facing this shit for years, and people are appropriators of our culture. They love our culture. They love our fucking style. They love our swag. They love our music. They love all this shit, but they don't love our struggle. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's deep, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't really fuck with us like they say they do, because when it comes time to really step it up and fight for what you believe in, and if you believe in human rights, yeah, you should speak on it. And after this, ask me. Like, I know you, bro. Me and you will have a conversation after this talking about this shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's what matters to me.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's great, man. And that's why I like talking to you about this, because just to see perspective from a Black person. And
and that's the biggest thing first, bro. Like, before, like, I love that I'm Persian.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm Persian is amazing. But at the end of the day, I'm a Black man first.
Yeah.
When I walk into the room,
you're Black.
My experience, the way that you treat me, is going to be based on
color of your skin,
being Black, the color of my skin. Therefore, I will always identify with being Black first, and then being Persian second.
Right.
Not because I don't like the Persian culture, it's because that's who I am.
That's how you're perceived as well from the outside.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's great, man. Well, thanks for speaking to me on these topics. Some of them very deep, very serious. I know this is a comedy podcast, not really, but it's kind of comedy. It's kind of real shit. I don't really put a label on it. I just kind of
comedy is real shit, bro.
That's true. I know. It's
comedy is observation.
This whole life's a fucking joke, so I guess it is comedy. So that's why it was nice, man. And also, I just like, that's what I'm saying. I use this platform, this podcast specifically, to have the platform to talk about this stuff, because I don't do this kind of talking or discussions on my main page on Instagram or on different platforms. This is where I use the platform to talk about real shit all the time. So for anyone who's listening, who's watching, I appreciate you for watching and tuning in. Alex, thank you for doing this with me, and I appreciate
My
you
dog.
speaking about these certain topics, especially with what's
You already
going on
know.
today. If you want to plug yourself, any social media, whatever I know you're always a flex, but plug everything you got, and then we'll go from there.
Check us out on the Gifted Gab. We do talk about these issues. We're always talking about these issues.
I was on one of their first episodes too. So
yeah, Neema was on our first, I think, episode 7. Yep. So we're actively talking about these things all the time, and we talk about a little bit of everything, kind of like what Neema does here, and we try to shed light on topics like this in a fun way, but in a way to be compelling and make you think. So check us out on the Gifted Gab. Reach out to us, please. If you have any questions about any of the stuff I talk about, reach out to me. I'm here to educate people if they don't understand. If you have questions about how you can help, please holler at me. Please reach out to me. And yeah, and stay healthy, and yeah.
Okay. Wash your ass, please.
Please wash your ass, please.
Use the off topic. Use the wash your ass. Come on. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And this was episode 8 of the Finding Neema podcast, featuring Alex Eskandar, and aka Always a Flap, losing his game. Thank you.
I gotta give a big shout out to my guy Andre Kelly, the other half of the Gifted Gab.
Yeah. Shout out Andre Kelly. Shout out Alex's brother. He's a better ball player than all of us. And thank you so much, everyone.